Okay, so it's 12 o'clock, so I think we'll get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our Hobbit quarterly GOSC meeting. And sorry, slides aren't advancing. I had this trouble earlier. Sorry. Let's try this again. Okay, there. Do you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm Joy Black. I'm the Siren Education Coordinator, and I'll be assisting with the meeting today. Before we get started, I just wanted to go over some Blue Jeans etiquette. To avoid an echo, please make sure you only have audio playing on one device, so either your computer or your phone. Also, this one is crucial. Please make sure you are on mute. If you are not speaking or presenting, you can just click on the speaker mode next to your name. And please do not put the line on hold. If you need to take another call, please hang up and dial back in afterwards. And not advancing again, so I apologize. So I just wanted to hand it over to our presenters today, which are the Hobbit Outcome Central Monitors, and that's Drs. Sarah Roxwell and Angie Caveney.
So this is Sarah Roxwell, and I think I've spoken to most of you. I just want to welcome you to our Blue Jeans meeting today. I know that everybody's really busy, especially with the COVID pandemic, so I'm very thankful that you're taking the time out of your schedule. You are very important to this study. The primary outcome is the most important measurement that we take, and that is what you are all getting for us. So that's why the Hobbit leadership really wants us to do this meeting, in addition to Angie and I doing things one-to-one with you. Joy is going to go over this with you, but we're going to do this presentation in the same format as we did in December, active, where we're doing questions and answers. And at any time, feel free to ask a question, whether you want to break in by talking or by chat. You'll also see that some of these questions and answers are a little bit more easy for the folks that have been enrolling for a couple of years, because we have about, I think it's 4 or 5 new sites that have just started to enroll, though everybody's been on hold because of the COVID epidemic. So thank you again. And Joy, if you don't mind going over how to do this.
Sure. Sure. Sorry, if I put it in presentation mode, it doesn't advance, so I'm just looking at it here. But we're going to be taking an easy quiz. You're not going to be graded or anything on it, but we will be using a platform called Kahoot. But some things to remember: the questions and response choices will be seen on the shared screen here in the Blue Jeans conference room. Each response will correspond to a color and shape that is displayed on your phone or your computer whichever you decide to use. I suggest using your phone, which is a lot easier, but you can go onto your computer. You'll just have to have 2 windows open. And to enter a response, just tap or click on the color and shape on your device that represents your choice. So if choice A is red and a triangle, just click on the red triangle in your phone. And the faster you select a correct response, the more points you will receive. So we will be going to Kahoot. So it's www.kahoot.it. And then you're going to ask to enter a game pin, which I'll provide for you in just a second. and then you'll enter a nickname or your name and site so we know who you are, and then you'll click OK, go. All right, so just let me bring that up for you, and then you can log in. 1 second. Okay. Share my screen. Do you guys see that? It's www.kahoot.it. So you'll just log on to that. I think it's easier if you use your phone, but you can use a computer as well if you can have 2 screens open. And then when you're asked for game pin, enter 6132299. And I'm not sure how many people are in the room, Angie and Sarah, so if you just let me know when we reach that number, because I can't see that from my view.
We have 16 right now.
Okay, great. So we have 5 so
15.
far.
They're dropping like flies.
Oh no. I promise this will be fun or interesting. Okay, we're about halfway there. As soon as most of you are logged in, we'll get started.
14.
Okay, we're at 9 in this Kahoot, so. Oh, I lost somebody. I'll just give you 1 more minute to get on if you're able to. Again, it's at www.kahoot.it and then enter 6132299 as you see on the screen. Okay, well, it looks like we might only have 9 today, so should I get started, Angie or Sarah?
Sure.
Okay. So the first question is just a sample question just to make sure that you understand how to use Kahoot. And it's just what are the largest types of trees in the world? Sycamore trees, redwood trees, maple trees, or sequoia trees? Just click on that color choice. And sequoia, you're right. Oh no, I mean, oh, sequoia was the right one. Everyone chose red though, redwood. So if you'll see,
idea.
I know. So hopefully people understand how to use the system now. So we'll go on to a GOSC question. JT Hoffma is up first there, so that's good. Okay, so the site study coordinator should hold monthly follow-up phone calls with enrolled subjects or caretakers. Only if they feel the subject may be lost to follow-up, or with every subject to maintain contact and establish rapport.
Joy, I can read these if you want.
Oh, okay.
So if you guys can choose between the two.
Good. So 7 out of 9 got it correct. Did you want to say anything more about that?
Yeah, I could just kind of take over now, Joy. If you just put the questions, and the answers, I'll just read them and go through it. So this is really important. In some of these, I didn't say this in the beginning, some of these first questions are geared more towards the study coordinators. We thought we should get you involved as well as the assessors. And so this is more the monthly follow-up calls. And we do feel that it's important that you are making those, all the whole bit leadership. The reason for this is, like the answer said, that you can maintain contact with them, you don't lose them to follow up, and you establish this rapport. So then when you're trying to get the GOSC assessments set up, you're much more apt to be able to do that. and especially that primary outcome. So that's the reason for that answer, and that's what's in our MOP too. Okay, next question, Joy.
Okay. And then this is a leaderboard, this is the scoreboard. So Joanne did great on that. So next question.
So what should be done during and after the monthly follow-up phone calls? Should you log all calls in WebDCU? Document new adverse events since the last contact with the subject and caretaker, or all of above? And yep, all of above. So this is very important that you log all the calls in WebDCU so that the DCC can follow that, but also that the new adverse events are put in as well. Especially we need to have the serious adverse events documented as soon as possible. And so if I know there's a couple assessors that do this without help from their primary study coordinator, so if you can either get them in or get it to the primary study coordinator as soon as possible, that would be very important. Okay, next question.
Okay.
And then why are we having you do these quality assurance videos recordings? Why are they being performed? And one answer to ensure the GOSE is done uniformly across sites and to train the assessors, to focus on the subject, or all of above.
Ah, shit.
Remember to stay muted.
So this one
That was awesome.
is actually to ensure the GOSE is done uniformly across the sites and to train the assessors. We are not doing it to focus on the subject at all. So we're not listening to the subject's answers or wanting to know how they're doing. The recordings are quality assurance. So we're trying to educate and train you, the assessor, to make sure that you're doing it right and so that we get the primary outcome correctly. Next question. How will feedback be given? So email or phone call only if mistakes are found. Create a DCR if there are required scoring changes at the primary outcome. The outcome central monitor will change the GOSE scores and notify the assessor, or all of the above. Okay, it looks like this was mixed. So this was a little bit tricky, but it's create a DCR if there are required scoring changes. I'm just going to go through this. So we will email or phone call you no matter what, whether you've made a mistake or not. So that will be done so that you know how you've done for that recording. And also, Angie actually does the 180-day assessment, and she will never ever change the scores herself. She will interact with you if she listens to the recording and doesn't think like questions may be asked correctly, or maybe the scoring is not done quite right. But she will defer to what you think at the end. So it's always up to you as the assessor. So that's really important, and that has to do with the last question as well. This does not have to do with the subject. You're in charge of this. Next question. How long does a GOSE assessor need to be recorded? A minimum of 5 assessments? When no major errors were made on at least one 6-month visit where Angie can see your scores, or all of above? Yeah, so this is kind of a scattered thing too. And we do need to hear a minimum of 5 assessments. And we actually need to have at least 2 correct 6-month visits scoring. So when I say no major errors, that means that the overall GOSC score hasn't changed. So that would be like if the subject really had moderate disability and you had them scored as good recovery, that would be a major error. And so we wouldn't be able to pass you. And again, it's that 6-month visit because Angie is blinded like you are, so she does that one. Next question. Regarding scheduling GOSC assessments, the site coordinator should let the GOSC assessor set up the assessment or help arrange the visit. Yay, yep. This is really important. We've had a few problems with this at a few sites, and because the coordinator is having these monthly phone calls, getting this rapport, seeing the the subject and family in the hospital, they really respond to you helping to set up the visit rather than a cold call, especially at the 3-month and 6-month visits. So we really want to emphasize how important it is that you're helping the assessors to arrange the visit. Next question. So if an assessment cannot be completed within the required windows, so 30 days plus or minus 7 days, 90 days plus or minus 2 weeks, and 180 days plus or minus 3 weeks post-injury, you don't have to try to reach the subject or caregiver anymore. You can just say, oh, too bad they can't use the data, or ask HOBIT leadership for an extension to contact the subject. Yep, that is right. So, and though it's outside the window because this is an adaptive trial, the statisticians feel that they can still use the data to help guide what direction the subject is going in their outcome. Next question. What happens if the subject becomes permanently lost to follow-up? So you guys can't find them at the 180 days. The site will discuss the case during the siren operations call. Email the HOBIT milestone. I'm not going to write all that. To be placed on the operations meeting agenda. And then I can't read that. Basically, the HOBIT will give you some ideas about how not to lose subjects to follow-up. And this is all of above. So we require people when you lose them at 180 days to come before the Sirens Operation Committee for the above reasons. It's important to do that. Next question. Does permission to record a participant caretaker have to be captured on the recording? Yes or no? Yep, and this, we want to, especially if new sites are on here, it is so very important that you get permission to record on the recording. Otherwise, Angie and I can't listen to it. And it's so important that we listen to each of these recordings. So we just wanted to emphasize that. Next question. When can either the subject or the caretaker be interviewed exclusively? When the subject is cognitively capable of answering the questions, when the subject is vegetative, when the subject is in rehabilitation, or all of the above? Okay, so this is when the subject is vegetative. And the reason why is you guys are trying to get as much information as possible. And you can get a lot of information from the family and the caretaker. And a lot of times, severe TBI patients, even though they are cognitively capable of answering the questions, they don't have a lot of insight and may think that they're doing better than they actually do. And then sometimes a family member or caretaker might be overly cautious, and so you need to get a gut instinct between the two and try to gather that. So when the subject is vegetative, obviously you can't get anything from them, so that would be the one time that you want to interview them exclusively. Otherwise, you want to try to get both of those interviews. Next question.
Great. We had a question, Sarah, pop up from Tiffany.
Okay. Can you read it? Oh, there it is. My thing was in the way.
Is it possible to back up or?
Let's see. That question is misleading by having subject or caretaker in the question.
I'm sorry, I can't back up.
So Tiffany just asked, that question is misleading by having the subject or caretaker in the question. This is another one, right?
Yeah, so the one up now is the next question, but so if you could just address if you could address Tiffany's question and then read this
Yeah,
one. People
I'm
already voted.
Tiffany, can you unmute yourself and just explain? I can't. No, I'm like blanking on what the question.
I think because the subject said it was
Yeah, the
it
question
said
was
the subject or the caretaker.
I didn't understand what the question was necessarily asking because it was talking about the subject being vegetative, possibly. Like, when can it be an exclusive to the caregiver? Like, when can we do the questionnaire exclusive to the caregiver? But it had subject or caregiver. So I was not very clear on what the subject was asking. That's why I brought it up.
Okay. If it's just that sometimes people think that they can just do the subject by themselves or exclusively without the caretaker involved. So like, if the subject is, cognitively capable, can you just do that? Or they seem to be doing quite well. They seem to that you interview them first and they appear to be having a good recovery. They say that they're back to work, that they're doing very well. And then sometimes people feel like they don't need to do the caretaker because the subject is doing so well. But we would like still to have the caretaker involved if possible at that point, just because sometimes the subject overstates how they are.
So, Sarah, I think this is Angie. When I read it, I also struggled with that question. It took me a second. I think maybe what's confusing some people is you say, when can you interview the subject exclusively or the caretaker exclusively?
Yeah.
And I think what you're trying to say is if somebody's vegetative, if you were to go observe them, you wouldn't need to go talk to the caretaker. So that's sort of like interviewing a vegetative person. Is that what you're saying? Or if you talk to the caretaker and find out that they're vegetative, you don't need to go see for yourself. Is that what you were meaning by that?
Yeah, that's what I was meaning.
Okay. So I don't know if that was what was throwing some people off, because that was what kind of threw me off a little bit at first.
Okay.
Maybe
Does that help?
two separate questions, like when would it be exclusive caregiver, when would it be exclusive patient, in two separate questions.
Right. But the answer for both is when they're vegetative.
Well, would a caregiver be vegetative?
No.
So that's where it's misleading. So I just want to confirm, if we are exclusively talking to the patient only, is there a situation where we would exclude, like, you still want us to talk to the caregiver even when the patient is fully independent again, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Right. Okay. I want to make sure about that. Thank you.
Yep. Sorry about that. Sometimes when you're writing the questions and answers, you kind of have it in your head, so you don't see it. I think Angie saw it, and I didn't. I didn't totally listen to her. So, okay. So going forward, this looks like it's already been answered, and so this is important that only the participant and caretaker can be the sources because this is a single blinded study. It is not double blinded. So the medical records and the treating team know exactly what treatment that this subject had, if they're a control group. And if you go into the medical records, most likely you're going to stumble upon it. And then also the study coordinators obviously know what treatment they had, and they can be biased, even subconsciously, and answer something one way if it was an HBO treated patient versus control. So you really can't discuss, and it's in our MOP with that. So it's really the participant and caretaker that can give you the information. All right, next question. So if the GOSC can't be done with the subject or caretaker, can the assessor do the GOSC with the primary nurse? So that's basically if the subject and caretaker, well, the subject is too low functioning and there isn't a caretaker available, can you do it with somebody else that is familiar with the patient, such as a primary nurse or a social worker or that type of person? Yes or no? So that is yes, and that has happened at a couple of the sites where you just can't, the subject can't be interviewed, and the family member is refusing or just is not available. We do the GOSC with somebody that knows them. It is nowhere near as good as with a family member and the subject who knows themselves at baseline, but at least we have something, especially for that 30-day and 90-day. Okay, next question. If a subject,
Okay.
oh, that's
Oh,
you.
you want to keep going?
Yes.
That's great. All right, question one is the head injured person able to obey simple commands or say any words? Okay, so the answer is yes, that's right. And I ask this because quite often somebody will be interviewing somebody and talking to somebody, and they will then go into asking a bunch of questions about commands, and it's not necessary. If they're talking to you or if you're talking to somebody else and the person says they can talk, you don't need to ask any questions about commands. See if we can get maybe one or two more in. Okay, subjects unable to say any words or follow commands. The assessor can stop asking questions after answering that first question. Yes or no, true or false? So the answer is true. This is the only time that it's okay to stop the GOSC prematurely is if someone is vegetative and unable to talk or follow any commands. Otherwise, we want you to keep going, even when you think you've got the score, because you never know what you might uncover as you continue to ask questions. Do we try for one more? Let's do it. Okay, after collecting all the information from all available sources, the assessor should let you guys read. I think that's faster. Joy, I think we're good on that. We have 8. That's right. Nice. Okay, good. And I mean, quite often people will say to me, you know, I know it's not this, but this is what they said, so I scored it that way. But no, you guys are the final decision makers on this. We want, you to score it based on your judgment and the information you have. All right, Sarah, I think that's our time.
Okay. So thank you guys for participating, and next time we do this, we'll use some of these questions of Angie's that were left and probably focus back more on the assessor part of the assessment. Again, we just wanted to have a little
Hey,
bit different.
Tiffany.
Yeah, good,
I know.
Tiffany. And
Yeah,
we could
Amanda.
hear
Or
Amanda
yes, who
go
won?
too up there, so, and whoever NM is, so good job. So thank you guys again for participating, and we'll see you in 3 months. I'm sure you're going to be hearing from Angie and I sooner, hopefully as the trial gets up and going. I know that Duke is enrolling in Ohio and Iowa, so thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.